Good evening once again. I'm Steve Kornacki in for Brian Williams, who has the night off. Day 1321 of the Trump administration and 63 days to go now until the presidential election. Donald Trump took his law and order campaign message to Kenosha, Wisconsin today. This 9 days after a police officer shot an unarmed 29-year-old African-American man, Jacob Blake, 7 times in the back. The president, along with Attorney General William Barr and Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, toured areas damaged during the unrest that followed the shooting. The president and Jacob Blake's family did not meet. His focus was largely on supporting law enforcement in a key battleground state.
These are not acts of peaceful protest, but really domestic terror. Reckless far-left politicians continue to push the destructive message that our nation and our law enforcement are oppressive or racist. You may have protesters, but you have some really bad people, too. You have anarchists, and you have the looters, and you have the rioters. You have all types. You have agitators.
Wisconsin's Democratic governor and Kenosha's mayor had urged the president not to make today's trip. During a meeting with other local officials, Trump defended police officers and promised more funding for law enforcement while rejecting suggestions of systemic racism. And he continued an analogy that he first made last night when he compared the police shooting of Jacob Blake to a golfer who, quote, chokes when missing a critical shot.
And you have people that choke. They're under tremendous, I said it yesterday, I said it last night. They're under tremendous pressure. And they may be there for 15 years. And if they make a wrong decision, one way or the other, they're either dead or they're in big trouble. And people have to understand that. They choke sometimes. And it's a very tough situation. The police do an incredible job. And I think you do have some bad apples. And you do have the other situation, too, where they're under this tremendous pressure and they don't handle it well. They call it choking. And it happens.
Do you believe systemic racism is a problem in this country?
Well, you just keep getting back to the opposite subject. We should talk about the kind of violence that we've seen in Portland and here. You could take the people of Kenosha that aren't here and that you won't see and that aren't protesting, but they want change also. They want to see law and order.
The president also claimed credit for the deployment of the National Guard in Kenosha. He's been publicly goading leaders in various cities and states to call up the Guard. And that was a step that Wisconsin's Governor Tony Evers took as the unrest broke out early last week, later calling in additional support. The president did not mention Jacob Blake during his visit. He is still hospitalized and said to be unable to walk. Today, Blake's family joined community leaders in a series of events near the scene of the shooting.
And I'm sucking up all the pain we have just to stand on our square until we get justice for little Jake, which means we get an indictment and a conviction of the man who shot him 7 times in the back.
What would you have wanted to tell the president today?
We don't have any words for the orange man. All I ask is that he keep his disrespect, his foul language far away from our family.
And this afternoon, Trump was asked if he had anything to say to Blake's family.
I feel terribly for anybody that goes through that. I didn't get to speak to the mother. I hear she's a fine woman. If we can help, we're going to help. But it is a question. It's under investigation. A lot of things happened with that and other things, frankly, that we're looking at very, very closely.
Ashley, let me start with you on the run-up to Trump's visit to Kenosha today. We just went through what his day looked like. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of speculation, and I think some conflicting reports that emerged at various times about whether he would meet with Jacob Blake's family, whether there had been outreach on that front, whether the family might be open to it. Was that ever something that was a possibility here? And how did it evolve to what we saw today?
Well, the president's focus was never on Jacob Blake or his family. He was not going here in the traditional role of presidents as a sort of healer in chief that you might expect in these moments. He was going here to press a political advantage he believes he holds over Joe Biden when it comes to the civil unrest roiling these cities where time after time, often an unarmed Black man is shot sometimes in the back, as it was the case with Jacob Blake, by a white police officer. And the president does believe that when you see these protests and these riots, the looting, there were fires in Kenosha, that he can go there and use that to establish himself as a strong leader and press a law and order message. So yes, you are right. There were some conflicting accounts about who in the White House was trying to reach out to who in Jacob Blake's family. If they reached out to his family pastor, then it came out he didn't have a family pastor. Perhaps his mother had a pastor. But again, I think the important context is that that was never the goal of the trip. The goal of the trip is what we saw from the president, which was to stand there with law enforcement, offer solidarity and support to law enforcement, support to local businesses, and establish himself as tough on law and order, and he hopes contrast to Joe Biden.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.